After making it through the Troodon army previously, I felt on my way to taking on the first arc, needing only stronger dinos now to help face off against the Overseer. But something I didn't anticipate was how painful this day was going to be, and if you've played Ark before, I'm sure you're going to have experienced something like this. But on my journey to taking on all of the Arks and restoring Earth before defeating Rockwell in the Genesis simulations, this was a huge setback and showed me just how difficult this challenge would be. So as the new day began, I took out the Iguanodon to gather some berries and test out just how well it could defend us, which honestly, after taking on some Dilos, I realised this was not going to cut it. So I took it back to base, crafted up some narcotics and arrows before heading out on my Raptor, hoping to tame something just a little better. Now this day had only just started, but already it was going to turn sour, as during an attack from a pack of raptors, a Microraptor ruined the fun, throwing me off, taking down my Raptor and finishing me off in the process. Being yet another Raptor down, I headed back to retrieve my gear, but when I did, there was an Alpha Raptor nearby, so I knew I had to keep my wits about me. Once again, raptors came towards me, but this time, I was prepared, bowlering them and knocking them out with relative ease. That was until a Rex pushed out of the trees, and in a pathetic attempt to save them, I shot my crossbow whilst taking off on my feet. I could not deal anywhere near enough damage to take this thing down, so I had to watch from afar, but sneaking around him and getting back to the raptors, it seemed that they were unharmed, and my plan had worked. Both eventually tamed up, and once again I had another small pack of raptors, so I took on those Microraptors from before that ended me until getting back to base, crafting up a saddle and heading out in order to gather some meat. On my journey I spotted another Rex, struggling with some Dimorphodons this time, so I helped them out and together we took it down. But a little further ahead, stuck in some trees, I spotted an Allo, so I decided to take a few shots from afar, attempting to knock it out, and after a few arrows, we actually began to tame it. I know, right? This day isn't seeming too bad now, right? But wait. Whilst they were enjoying some prime and nap time, I carried on searching for meat and more tames, spying a drop that contained some kiting gloves and a sickle, and with no luck on the hunt, I headed back, now able to craft myself a Pterodon saddle, which meant I had to go on a small test flight, spotting a Ceratosaurus and not one but two Alpha Raptors near each other, so we'll avoid this area in future. By this time, the Allo was now tamed up, so we brought them home before going off out to hunt for some metal. On the side of the volcano I began mining, but then something happened that after reflecting on this, I regret. A Sabertooth was below me with kids, and I thought these would be a great addition to my base defense. Equipping my bowler, I was ready, and with relative ease, he was tranked out. But whilst waiting, I noticed something. I was freezing and so close to death, and I had to jump on the back of my pterosaur and fly as fast as I could. But before long, I succumbed to the cold, falling to the ground and returning to the base in a now desperate situation. I crafted up some armor to try and fight the cold, hopped on the back of my Raptor and got the whole squad following as we rushed back to get my tames, the Pterodon and my inventory. As we got close, however, I heard the last remaining cry of my Pterodon as he was taken down by a Rex. So, knowing that that was around, I had to be careful maneuvering through the trees. Further we headed in the hopes of rescuing the Sabres at least, but as we got there, a Carno and an Argy were attacking, and with a dive, the Argy came in, taking out one of the Raptors. Eventually though, we were able to finish them off, getting to the sabers and claiming the child, as it was now time to try heading back home. Not before gathering some more metal though. We stomped through the trees in the hopes of getting back to safety, but another Rex had other ideas, charging straight through and eating through my tames. One by one they were falling, and as the aloe fell, leaving me alone on the Iguanodon, we fled into the night. But what we ran into was just as bad. A Microraptor knocked me off, and in a daze, this allowed a Ceratosaurus to march in, annihilating my Iguanodon before taking me down as well. Once again, in a rush of trying to rescue my things, I hopped onto the back of the Parasaur, sprinting off to find it, and somehow we managed to get around the Cerato eventually. But an Alpha Raptor ran through the trees at me, alerting the Ceratosaurus as they began ripping apart my Parasaur, leaving me all alone in the forest, sneaking my way back to base, and sadly, it was not long before they found me, hunting me down and leaving me with nothing. For now, I decided to cut my losses, starting from scratch with nothing but bury the Parasaur and building up all my gear again, in the hopes of ending the day with something to help me on this journey. For one final time, I headed out looking for anything good to tame, taking on terror birds and heading towards the northern areas cloaked in snow. Arriving there though, I spotted a pretty strong Carno, so whilst they were distracted, I started firing, and this could be it. This dino could save me from failure and take me further on this journey. But it started to run, and I chased it down, until a scorpion got in my way and forced me to stop and fire at them. But once they were dealt with, I searched as far as I could, unable to find them again. What I did find though was a baby saber that I claimed, which was quickly eaten by another saber, so as always I tried to tame that one up, knocking them out and leaving them for now, which would be a nice creature to ride on if we could get this. But as I waited around, there was an Argy flying about, and that seemed to be a great tame, so using no traps, I began firing, which wasn't as easy as I expected it to be, surviving on my last legs as I shot one final arrow into it before it flew off, and again, I lost it. But going back to check on the saber, I did notice that somehow that had been eaten, but the Argy had fallen and we managed to knock it out. So I fed them up and headed home in the hopes of not freezing. Once home though, I was still not satisfied, and once again I headed out for more tames, and this Theri honestly gave me such a jump scare.
That scared the ever-loving titties out of me.
After that rude sneak attack, I gathered my gear back, but sadly, a pack of raptors took me out again. Now that I knew those raptors were there though, I headed back over in the hopes of taming them, eventually climbing on top of a rock whilst tranking each of them. Slowly they were getting knocked out one by one, and I had a breeding pair taming up in no time. The day was finally looking up, until a huge Rex and Bronto battle took place right in front of me, so all that I could do was run, hoping that the raptors would survive, but it was not meant to be, so I decided to head on back to my RG, bring them home as I really needed this win right now. On my travels, I claimed a baby raptor, and after spying a Dillo close to bringing this guy home, I attempted to hit it with my crossbow, but instead caught the Dimorph, which swarmed me, sending me straight back to base. I ran back, picked all of my gear up and took this little guy home, and gathering all of my items from my base and placing them on Berry, ready to move as I decided this area was not where I wanted to be any longer. finally, I headed north to collect my newly tamed RG, and whilst doing so, I spotted a baby Rex which I had to claim, as getting this guy back to my base may help me defend against most. To my surprise, it was peaceful on the walk home, other than one raptor that knocked me every time I tried to throw my bowler and finish me off. But with one last ditch effort, I grabbed my stuff again and ran back to base and loaded my RG with the rest of my belongings before realizing that today was just not my day. So the move to find the new base would have to wait until tomorrow. If you'd like to see me record these videos live, then make sure to check out my streams right here most Wednesdays and Fridays, with some occasional weekend streams too. These are weekly videos that will follow this story, and don't forget to hit that like button if you want to help this channel grow. I do really appreciate it, and finally, be sure to subscribe. We just hit the 2K mark, guys. I can't thank you all enough, and I can't wait to hit those next milestones. So I will catch you all in the next one.